Nearly two-thirds of U.S. colleges hope to resume in-person instruction this fall, but increased COVID-19 cases are making that decision more difficult. Many schools have shifted to complete online learning for the upcoming school year, but not everyone's in favor of virtual instruction. Here with more insight is Stephen Laster from Ellucian, a company focused on improving higher education in the United States. Welcome, Stephen.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Talk about how higher education institutions are making informed decisions on the future of education because of COVID-19.
We've seen a really rapid increase in innovation in higher ed since COVID-19 broke out. Right now, I can guarantee almost every institution is building for several scenarios, replanning their curriculum depending on the state of the outbreak in each of their communities today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the higher ed institutions were already planning, for virtual learning options, but this kind of really pushed all of that forward much quicker than maybe they had planned. Talk about the thought process of schools right now, especially as they try to plan for the fall semester and even beyond.
So a couple things to keep in mind. Every school has its own population, and every school has its own mission within the greater education goals that it has. So they're looking at their students, they're looking at the communities they serve, they're looking at what they teach, and they're trying to take the best of instruction and the best of technology and bring that to bear now and into the future. We think higher ed is changing permanently. Of course, there'll be some on-campus instruction in the future, but it'll truly be a blended world. And there's a lot we're learning right now about the future of that blended higher ed world.
Yeah, we were just talking about how the pandemic has probably sped up some of these trends in higher ed, such as rethinking the value schools can provide to students. When you talk about online versus in person, I mean, it's two different experiences.
So it is and it isn't. Remember, we've had fantastic online instruction for about 20 years. We need to remember that not every student is that prototype 18 to 20-year-old. But in fact, higher ed serves many, many adult learners who have benefited from online for the past couple of decades. So it's really about the right instruction based on the students' needs and who they are and where they are in their own career goals and personal goals. And I think we've been able to innovate so quickly because of this body of experience over the past couple of decades.
Yeah, those are some good points because no two students are quite the same, different situations. How are schools communicating with students, faculty, and staff right now?
So at Ellucian, we're spending a lot of time helping them do just that. There isn't a school around that imagined its staff would be online and virtually distributed when they started this journey. So we're helping them use technology tools, ones we're all familiar with, to really create that sense of community, to help those students navigate this period of time. It's really about deliberate practice and making sure that we don't lose any of our students because they disappear from our virtual landscapes. And it's about frequent and deliberate and precise communication to drive clarity and to help shepherd our students through this transition.
Well, part of what helps schools, make some of these decisions is using data. How are they using the data for decisions, right now in the summer and the fall semesters and even looking at 2021?
Really good point. And we've spent a lot of time with our campuses and our customers really using data to help shape that incoming class. It's never been more fluid as each student makes their own personal decision. And we're using data to understand how to reach the student body, how to shape a diverse student body. And then for the students, we're using data to help them figure out the most efficient way to get that degree. After all, this is purposeful education for most people. And in a period of change that can become confusing, data helps give them insights and helps to make planning easier. And that's what we're working on.
Now, should all institutions use the data to guide the rethinking, especially while they need to stay agile because we are in uncertain times?
So at the core, education is a human enterprise. It's about people connecting with people. But to do that at scale, data and enabling software is paramount. And so it is a combination of judgment, technology, and information to help drive us through this period of time.
Now, with all of this rethinking and all the adjustments that are being made, that have been made, especially when it comes to higher education, what does this mean for the future for schools and institutions?
The future obviously hasn't been told yet. We're in a grand experiment. I think what we can all agree is that our educational system in the United States is a national treasure. It's what's going to help us bring the end of this pandemic. It's what's brought us these enabling technologies we're using today. So we know we need a vibrant higher education community, I think how education is delivered is changing in front of our eyes. And what we do know is it'll be a blended future, some residential, some with technology, and some in between.
And Stephen, we're here in California. Obviously, we have a lot of public and private institutions. Some have already come out and said we're going to be doing the online, education to start off the school year. Others have said maybe it's a hybrid, and every day we're just waiting for new updates if we can, if we can't. Is it specific to California? Is it each state's looking at things a little bit differently?
So it's not specific to California. And, we partner and support almost half of higher education in California and have deep admiration for the work that's happening in this state. Every state, every locality is facing its own complexities. What we can say in California is there's been a lot of thoughtful work in scenario planning, and we're right there with California schools to help make the most of this period of time. But every state is different because the dynamics in which they're operating, frankly, are different today.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, Stephen, from Ellucian. Great information, higher education not being left out of the equation of who's having to pivot and what changes they're having to make. So we appreciate you joining us today.